So I mentioned this before, but now we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of the data request process. So as you think about, every question that's being answered on your campus and people are, building reports or extracts or whatever, sort of all of the interesting knowledge, institutional knowledge about what and how you report is decided every time that data request is processed. So you have to think about, like, how are you managing this process? And are you capturing the know-how during that process? And how are you standardizing the exchange between the requester and the completers, or just the overall process, so that you get good results and that you capture the know-how? And are you creating trust and use of the data, through this process, either through timeliness or accuracy and all that? So I think it's hard to think about it because it seems like a lot of extra work to have people write things down and capture it. That, Jim, can you get me this? Bypassing the process is super productive for the requester oftentimes. Like, they get what they want, but it doesn't create, value for the next request, right? That's what you have to think about. Like, how am I creating value for the next request? So, if you have a good data request process, you're able to get sort of more accurate and trusted information. It can be more efficient and timely. It is true that you can create a data request process that is not efficient and timely, that is the opposite of that, which we don't want to do. It should be cost effective, meaning that if you're capturing that know-how and you're managing it effectively, that you're going to get, you're going to save money and time. You can also really impact customer service. I'm sure that many of you, if you're on this call, have dealt with complaints about turnaround for data requests or reports or whatever. So being able to manage that process and at least see transparency on it, which brings me to that reporting on reporting. So if you're for those 50%, this would be a good survey question, but I don't have it, who are using the ticketing system, I'm curious how many of you are able to run reports on those ticketing systems or see the data on turnaround time, and as well as possibly even satisfaction survey if you consider the requesters as clients. Are you able to get that information? I find this very meta, the reporting on reporting, right? So this inception thing here, being able to do that. And in our tool, our data cookbook application, we create ODBC views to all of the sort of workflows and tasks and everything. And we've had some clients present at our client users groups about reports they have built on the data governance data, which is, again, it's very fascinating to see. Mainly they're trying to track, like, are people doing their job, or are we satisfying our customers and the goal of governance fast enough? All right, so the other sort of thing to think about here is that, for the third of you who answered that this is primarily a direct person-to-person exchange, I think that you probably wouldn't be on this call if you didn't think this as well, but it's not just a two-person game. Now, I don't think it's smart or wise to eliminate, two-person interactions at all. And, if at some point you have to be pragmatic, if people have to get done what they need to get done. But for the vast majority of things, you want to be capturing that know-how and managing the process and getting that accuracy. So you want to move away, because the problem is, like, this example, this little, playing catch between a dad and a kid here, is that, that's not very scalable. And if you think of it more like you're playing a complicated football game where you're going to be swapping people in and out, right? Or you're going to want to repeat this play. And if you don't really understand the overall process, and you don't know what role you play in the process, and if you win the lottery and you go off, to sail in the Caribbean, and they have to hire another person to come into your job, do they know what to do? Can they plug into the process, or do they, are they starting from scratch? Did people know where to call him? So that's the important part. It's not just a two-person game. You got to think about it as a team with swappable resources, and that you're building up know-how on the overall process.